My trip continues in the great American Southwest, and yes, I am still chasing counties. My last video I explored Pinal County, which is home to notable spots like Tucson, Saguaro National Park, Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument, Mount Lemmon, and so much more. My adventure continues north as I head up into Pinal County. This is county number 7 for me in the country and my second in the amazing state of Arizona. Pinal County is sandwiched in between the two most populated counties in the state of Arizona, covering an area around 5,300 square miles, which is the 6th largest county in the state and the 69th largest in the country. Left over is just under 9 square miles of water area, which is also the 6th least in the state. Pinal gets a major blessing being in between Phoenix and Tucson because the suburbs of those cities are creeping into the county. Just under 500,000 people call this county home, which is the 3rd most populated in Arizona, which is a state that is growing extremely fast. Stats reflect as well, as Pinal was the 2nd fastest growing county in the United States between 2000 and 2010. The county just turned 150 years old this year on February 1st and is named after Pinal Peak, which is the highest point in the Pinal Mountains, and funny enough is not even in the county but in Gila County to the east. Pinal sits in the Sonoran Desert, which I did a deep dive on in my last video about Pima County, so I'll refer you to that video about this magnificent desert. Most of the county is completely flat, with isolated mountain ranges dotted throughout, with popular spots like Picacho Peak and the Superstition Mountains, but more on this in a bit. Being in between the two most populated cities in the state, airport access is not far away, with a drive on Interstate 10, which goes directly north-south through the middle of the county. Interstate 8 also starts in the county from Interstate 10, just south of Casa Grande. U.S. Highway 60 also briefly cuts through the northeast corner of the county, connecting downtown Phoenix to the Tonto National Forest. One of my favorite hikes that I have ever done is in the gorgeous Picacho Peak State Park. This state park is right off of I-10, covering just under 4,000 acres, which consists of Picacho Peak and the surrounding slopes and base. This hike is the Hunter Trail. This is a short hike to get you on top of a mountain, but it is very steep and exposed in some spots. These exposed spots have cables built right into the rock for you to use in climbing, so definitely bring some gloves on this hike. Although these spots can be intimidating, they add a real exciting element to this hike, which takes the experience to a whole other level. I spent a sunset up here, and it was so nice that I had to climb up once again the next morning for sunrise, and it was absolutely epic. Another iconic area in the county is Lost Dutchman State Park. 40 miles east of Phoenix by the way of U.S. Highway 60, Lost Dutchman covers an area of 320 acres at the base of the Superstition Mountains. Solidifying this county as being home to some of the most epic hikes that you can possibly do is the Siphon Draw Trail that takes you up to the high peaks of these mountains. Lost Dutchman is basically one big trailhead to get you up to these mountains that sit within the Tonto National Forest, which slightly creeps into the county. Like to climb up to Picacho Peak, this trail gets very exposed, but unlike Picacho Peak, there is no cables to help. So instead, some low-level rock climbing is required, and in some spots can be very confusing. So please keep an eye on all trails when doing this. This trail can take you up to many notable spots up in the mountains, but I went over to the Flatiron, which is exactly how it sounds, and it being a huge flat top, which you can see pretty clearly on the satellite view. The views up here are absolutely insane, and they are right up there with Picacho Peak as the best in the county. From intense hikes with absolute epic views to some of the oldest structures in the United States, you have Casa Grande Ruins National Monument. This national monument protects ruins that were created by the Hohokam culture back in the classic period between the 12th and 15th centuries. Due to being in the Sonoran Desert, these ruins have been well preserved with the lack of moisture and high temperature slowing the process of decomposition. The best preserved piece is known as the Big House, which would have most likely been the main building in this community. With the help of a huge canopy over the Big House, keeping out of direct sunlight, this ancient structure has a good chance of being in our lives for generations to come. Some of these spots may be overlooked by some, as the Phoenix and Tucson areas get a bunch of attention, which they should, completely fair. But the spots in Pinal County gives you just as an amazing time as you would in these two major cities. My journey continues within Arizona as we go up through the state to one of our largest, most populated counties in the United States.